He was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were waiting outside, like for part 2.
Part 2 about my boyfriend's best friend trying to ruin our relationship. So like I said, then she got her brother involved. And her brother and Josh were best friends. A little background information here. Josh had stopped talking to Jamie for those few weeks after she called me that night because she was making things really awkward in our relationship and just giving us a lot of problems. So the one night, Jamie's brother texts Josh and he's like, bro, I think it's mad sus how you cut her off when your girlfriend's the problem. So obviously Josh texted him and said, what do you mean? And her brother was like, she hits me up all the time to hang out. We've been hooking up. I can even send you the nudes that she sent me. And before I started dating Josh, there was this boy that I was talking to for like 6 months and I ended up sending him nudes. And yes, they got around the school. But surprisingly, Josh had no idea about them. So her brother sent Josh the nudes and said, bro, here, like, see her face is in it and everything. Lesson learned, don't put your face in nudes. So then me and 3 other people explained to my boyfriend that those were from a while ago. And after that, he just blocked both of them and we're still together.
I had a girlfriend in college who got pregnant at 19 and I was 20. I freaked out and wrongly blamed her for everything and said there was no way I wanted to be a dad. I signed over all my rights and I haven't seen her since. I'm now 30, but I had an accident a few years ago that has made it impossible for me to father any children. This was a hard blow to my wife, and our marriage has struggled as I'm not willing to adopt, but she wants children. So I contacted my ex about seeing them, and maybe my wife would be happy in a stepmom role. My ex said no, and when I protested, she basically told me tough luck. I said he was my kid, but she actually said he's not. I signed my rights away so I have no children as far as the law is concerned. She says my kid has a real dad and a life, and I've never been a part of it and never will be. I was so angry and I started yelling about taking her to court for custody, and she laughed at me and said good luck. I was venting to my brother and he just laughed at me and said no judge would give me custody or regular visitation after a decade of no contact just because I suddenly found myself sterile and wanted to appease my wife. He also said I'm not treating him like an actual person, and did I even once stop to consider the fact that he wouldn't even know who I was? I shouldn't have threatened to go for custody, and I admit that. People are acting like I've done the worst thing.
Story time about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So a little background information. This had all started as soon as my dad left my mom and I. I was like 13 around the time. Well, ever since then, my mom would have different guys in and out of the house all the time. Like, we were lucky if a month went by and she was still with the same dude. Which, I mean, I kind of get it because my dad did leave us for a woman that he had started another family with. But at the same time, it was just a whole mess. Anyway, so she had got with this new guy and we're gonna call him Tyler. And by the way, the dudes that she would date, they would literally live at our house. Anyway, so a week after he moved in, I started getting really close to him, which usually never happens. Usually I would try to keep my distance because I knew how wrong it was of her having all these different guys in the house when I'm only 16. Anyways, every time that my mom would go to work, he would invite me to go see a movie and he would just be really...
Story time of how I caught my teacher naked. By the way, this is not my story, this is from Anonymous. So my whole class in 9th grade went skating. We were having a lot of fun and it was going normal. Afterwards, we went into the buses. When I sat on the bus, I realized I forgot my bag. I ran back inside into the women's locker room. When I went inside, it was just me, but then I saw a teacher. A male teacher. He was around his mid-30s. When I saw him, he was standing in just a towel. He was showering in the women's locker room for no reason. He asked me what I was doing there, and I said I forgot my backpack and that I was going to miss the bus. He then said if I stayed with him, then he would drive me back to school. So I did. I sat outside his shower, and me and him were just talking back and forth. Then when he was done showering, he walked out fully naked. He then changed right in front of me, and I was fine with it. I mean, I like seeing naked bodies. Follow for part 2.
So, one of the most common questions I get from clients is, what is the grossest thing that's ever happened to you while you were waxing somebody? So, here's a quick little story time for you guys. One day I was at work. I used to work for a corporate company, and I had a client come in, and she doesn't tell me that she's on her period, which is not a big deal. I wax people on their periods all the time. Just throw in a fresh tampon, plug it up, hop on the table. Not a big deal. But she doesn't tell me that she's on her period because she had the string tucked. So I'm waxing, we're laughing, we're talking, and then out of nowhere she sneezes and then her tampon popped out.
Storytime ex-boyfriend edition. Let's talk about the drama. So I dated this guy for about a year and a half. I knew him for 8 years before that. He was actually my teacher at university. But don't worry, we dated way after I graduated. I'm even a little bit older than him. Artsy, cute, nerdy, what can go wrong? Well, we could only hang out after 7 p.m. and there were only specific days that we could hang out. Yes, I know, red flags, I was stupid. But the time we had together was amazing. So I decided to turn a blind eye. This guy, with no shame at all, hangs out with other girls and posts them all over his social media. He refused to call me his girlfriend, but I was the love of his life, the most beautiful girl he's ever been with. I even went to his family functions. So basically, I was a girlfriend at convenience. So I start paying attention. There's girl's hair all over his apartment. Perfectly laid out, by the way. She knew about me, so I decided that I was going to take my pink hair and lay it right next to hers. This story gets so juicy, like for part 2.
My cousin in high school recently turned 18. She doesn't have a car and during her birthday weekend thought her parents were going to buy her one. When they didn't, she was pretty upset. I should note that I'm not very close with my cousin or the rest of my extended family for that matter. Anyways, my cousin texts me on the Friday before her birthday asking if she can take my car to the mall and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me, but I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. I wake up on Saturday morning to find that my car has been egged and TP'd. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw egg baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper destroying the paint. I check my security cameras and I find my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalizing my car. I obviously press charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, saying she's just a kid and she's going through a phase. Saying things like I'm almost 30 and I don't remember what it was like at that age. Do you think I took it too far by pressing charges on her?
A man escapes prison after 15 years, then breaks into a house to look for money. He finds a couple in bed, orders the guy out of bed, and ties him to a chair. The escaped prisoner then ties the wife to the bed and jumps on top of her, and it looks like he kissed her, then gets up and goes to the bathroom and closes the door. While he's in the bathroom, the husband whispers over to his wife, "Hey, he's an escaped convict. Look at his clothes. He's probably spent a lot of time in jail and hasn't seen a woman in years. I saw the way he kissed your neck. If he wants anything, don't resist, don't complain, just go with it. Satisfy him no matter what. This guy is obviously dangerous, and if he gets angry, he'll kill us both. Be strong, honey, and I love you." His wife looks at him, smiles, and says, "He wasn't kissing my neck. He was whispering in my ear. He told me that he likes men and thinks you're cute and asked me where the Vaseline was. I told him it was in the bathroom. Be strong, honey, and I love you."
This is a girl tried to walk out without paying. So she booked a basic Brazilian. She paid $24 online, and then she had to pay the other $24 here in person. I completed the service. Now it's time for her to pay. Tony tells her it's $24, but if she would like to pre-book, she would have to leave a deposit for her next appointment as well. She's like, "Why is it $24? I think that I should be paying less because I really didn't have a lot of hair." He's like, "That doesn't matter, ma'am. She completed a basic Brazilian on you and that's her price." She's like, "Well, I think I deserve a discount. It's my first time here. Don't you guys do that? I don't think it's right." He's like, "No, ma'am. We reward our loyal clients, though. We have a reward program. Every 6 points, you do get a discount with us." She's like, "Well, I think I want to cash that in right now." He's like, "That's not how it works here. Your total is going to be $24. How would you like to pay?" She's like, "Well, I'm not going to give you $24. I'm going to give you exactly what I think she deserves because I didn't have a lot of hair, so I'm going to give her $10. So now one of my clients hears this commotion. She's like, "Look, girl, you're going to pay what they're asking you to pay and you're going to get the F up out of here." Tony's like, it's okay, I got it." The girl's like, "You don't talk to me like that." And now she's starting to walk out. Now the girl stands in front of the door. She's like, "You're not going anywhere. Either you pay or I'm calling the police right now." She starts screaming, "Oh my God, I feel threatened. Oh my God, I'm getting kidnapped right now." The police is called. The police comes. The girl's crying, saying that we're kidnapping her basically because we're not letting her go home. And now she's claiming that she paid. Thankfully, we have cameras in our establishment, so we show the police that she had not paid yet. They tell her that either she pays or she goes to jail. So of course she pays. She says that she's going to give me a bad review because I made her feel uncomfortable because we kidnapped her. Oh my God. We decide to block her from the system. A month later, she calls us asking us why she's blocked. She loved her experience with me and wants to see me again.
Time on how I slept with my professor in class. So I was 18 at the time and he was 38. To give you guys a visual, he was a little bit on the heavy side and he was balding. Anyways, I don't know about y'all, but I suck at math, so I always needed that extra help. And if you guys were wondering, the class is calculus too. Well, throughout the course, I always stayed after class to ask my professor some questions and he was always willing to help. I always caught flirting here and there, but I always pushed it to the side. Well, one day I stayed after class like usual to ask for help, but something changed. He gave me his credit card and told me to go downstairs to get him something to eat.
My boyfriend and I went to his sister's wedding.